Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one of our Strata Live interviews. I'm really excited. We've got Danielle Warner from Foster Family Chiropractic here talking about reintegrating the body back to center. This is where I go for all my chiropractic needs. I love it there. It's a great space. It's so warm and friendly and inviting. And Danielle Warner is an immense body of information and knowledge. And I'm so happy that we've got her here today. Dr. Warner, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, listen, trust me, the pleasure is all mine. Before we jump into the human body, regrading to center, could you just tell us a little bit about who you are, your story, how you got into what you do, and maybe why you're so passionate about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a chiropractor in the community for 16 years now, and I'm the owner director of Foster Family Chiropractic, and it's that's a beautiful story in and of itself. I worked with Dr. Laura Foster for many years in partnership, and we've just sort of recently, parted our ways. But she really helped me to develop my passion for this art, this science of chiropractic. I'm also a mom of two teenage beauties, so they definitely keep me on my toes. And yeah, I'm really anyone that knows me would know that I'm my passion, my mission is to do whatever I can in the simplest way possible to elevate the lives of the people in the community. Now more than ever, I think we just we want to need to feel good and inspired, and those are things that I do. For myself. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just brought myself back in here. Please continue.
Okay. No, and then that's it. That's it. I love to move my body, and we talked about this topic of reintegrating back to central and neutral, and it's so important. It's so important because if we're not center, we're not moving in our environment in a way that is functional and healthy. I mean, it's step one, right? Start from the basics. So, and it's a lot easier than we think it is. So that's been my conversation as of late, right? Let's go back to basics, right? Keep it simple.
I love that you want to keep the fact that so many people in their lives right now have so many different responsibilities, so many things that they're responsible for. I mean, if we did every single self-care thing that we were supposed to feel our best, we would literally have no time to work, to parent, anything. And so, like, I love that you keeping it simple. I find that when we talk about topics in these interviews, one of the best places to start is, why do we even fall off center to begin with? It always seems like we all feel great in our early years, up to teenagers. And then around, at least for me, somewhere around the age of 25, 30, my body started feeling a little funny. And even now, these days, even though like I get to see great people like Dr. Ramsey, who is a colleague of yours, I still feel, not the same as when I did when I was 15. So why do our bodies tend to fall out of center to begin with?
Well, I really think that we underestimate the impact that gravity has. Right? And this is a
Interesting.
force, right? This is a force that we deal with from birth, and the human body and the human design is brilliant, genius in its ability to withstand that force, right? And so much of that has to
Mhm.
do with the S curve of the spine and the way that we move our bodies, but it's accumulative, right? So that's just basic. That is our right. That's good. We are exposed to that from the moment we right oppose it, right? So the moment we get up. So these are constant forces, and they're significant, right? They're significant, and we all know why. It keeps us on the ground. And so that, and then we add our lifestyle, right? We add the things that we do that even now more than ever, that bring us into that sort of forward flexion. These are things that maybe we can't necessarily avoid. I mean, we're like this, and at a younger age we're like this. There's so much more of this, right? I'm in my 40s, and I didn't have my first cell phone until I was 30. So, but now we're getting that a lot earlier. So there's lifestyle, and then I'm a chiropractor, so I always I go to the nervous system, right? And the
Mhm.
way our nervous systems are so efficient, but we're constantly bringing in information from our sensory environment, from our thoughts, right? From our physical, chemical, emotional, and the way your nervous system responds to stressors. It's a protective thing, but it increases tone,
Mhm,
right? So think about,
mhm,
think about alignment and center. And I just talked about that beautiful S curve, and that's all designed perfectly. But when we get out of, when the body is called to protect itself, that tone increases, right? Think of your spinal
mhm.
cord as like an elastic band. So it's
Okay.
that's kind of the top and the bottom, sort of suspended in the bones of this beautiful spine. And so we're going about our day, and we have a stressful thought, and then we're coming into forward flexion, and then maybe we're dehydrated. These are all like mini tigers to the central nervous system, right? It's cold outside, we shiver, there's a virus, we got to like mount our immune system. All mini tigers, super, it's a, they're there, they exist. And this happens at birth. We have, little, stressors, and the nervous system in its infinite wisdom, it's got to like protect it, right? Sympathetic, right? That and increased adrenaline, cortisol, protection. And so that, remember, that elastic band stretches, right, to initiate that fight or flight response. When that stretches, we go into flexion. So it's just a natural, beautiful response to that. And so you can think about all that we have to navigate all day, right? And so there's this accumulation, I think. And as we get old, we have more responsibilities, and we have an accumulation of stressors. So, by the time we get into, 30s, 40s, we spend so much of
Mhm.
our time in this position, right? And I think we forget, well, I don't know that many of us realize how our posture and how we hold our bodies in space, how it impacts our health and our body's ability to express health very directly, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, if you don't mind me asking a follow up here, when our body is like obviously misaligned, unaligned, whatever the correct terminology is, I mean, I defer to your better judgment on that one. How does it
Sure.
show up for a lot of people? Does it show up like pain, discomfort? Oh, my body feels funny. Does it also show up as like maybe less energy if we're not as aligned? Like, what are some of the symptoms of having a body that is not centered?
Yeah. I mean, the first one, the most obvious would be yes, pain, lack of energy, but it affects our mood.
Mm,
Right? It can look like I'm cranky. I'm not centered. I'm not focused. It can impact our ability to take a deep breath. Right? It can impact so many things, right? When our bodies are stuck in that forward flexion, and we're creating these um, interference patterns to the way that the nervous system is functioning, it can impact our digestion, right? Our breathing, our blood pressure. There are so many things, right? And so
mhm.
it can become a cascade. But the biggest ones, right? This is what I see in practice all the time is, we're in pain, we lack energy, and we're uninspired, right? And I'm sure you see it. I know you see it, right? And so, I mean, it's a similar sort of work. It's like, how do we get back to our being, right? To our center, right? So that we can then live and serve and feel good from there. So, yeah.
It's so interesting because the first thing you opened with there when I asked that question was mood. And that whole thing about mood really strikes me as the most interesting because at the end of the day, I think as human beings, our biggest driver for things is often like the emotions, and it's survival mode is like don't feel negative emotions anymore. And what kind of emotions do we feel when we're sore, achy, and tired? They're usually not great. Frustration, being upset, being worried. And so, it is amazing where when I do come see Dr. Ramsey and I get my adjustment and we have a conversation, it's amazing how much more lighter and more myself I feel when I leave, despite, not really spending even that much time there. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're design we it's our birthright to
Mhm,
feel good, right? To be healthy. And we have an innate intelligence towards health and healing. The
mhm,
reason we don't is because there's some interference patterns that we have created, that has been created, whether it's a protection or whatever, right? So what the adjustment does, and that doesn't take, it removes some of that interference. It brings
mhm,
down the tone. It allows you to be able to perceive your environment in a way that allows you to express yourself, right? To do that. And as I always say, I'm not here to fix you or not fixing you, right? What
mhm,
we're doing is we're creating ease. because when we're at ease, we heal. We know this. You cut your finger, it heals. Nobody needs help healing, right?
Hmm.
What the goal is, how do we remove some of those interferences, those layers that are not allowing us to do that, right? And
Hmm.
so, yeah, it's like you come in, you get adjusted, it takes the lid off the pressure valve, right? Where you can be like, huh, okay, now what?
Right.
Now I can perceive my environment without feeling like I'm, bombarded and with some level of presence. So yeah.
And it's amazing how much of this happens at a subconscious level. I mean, most of it happens at a subconscious level. You even said something to yourself where it's like the force of gravity affecting the way we move and feel. Like we forget that our bodies have these sensory organs all over it that literally send information to the brain thousands of times a second. Our brains got to interpret all that and then give us some sort of conscious response. And like, here's how I feel right now. Here's how I can move. Here's how I'm going to get
It's
that
a
thing done.
miracle. It's a miracle. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
absolutely the most beautiful, like, and that runs without us thinking about it, right? And I'm sure we can go on all the processes on what goes on, right? So
Absolutely amazing. And it kind of brings me to my next question here, which is, so we talked about like what being, maybe unaligned can feel like and the benefits of now being more aligned. When it comes to bring the body back to center and reintegrating it, biggest things that most people don't understand or don't know that you'd love everyone to know about.
it's easier than you think. It
Elaborate.
is. Yeah. I think we forget to breathe. We forget to breathe, right? And so
Mhm.
I think that it starts there. You can access so much of that innate intelligence of the body through your breath. And so, what I would my recommendation would be, as you go out through your day, when you're sitting in your car before you go into that meeting or before you go to the soccer game or you go to, take 2 minutes. I dare you to time it because it'll feel like a long time, and don't overthink it. But you take that full deep breath in and out. Just slow it down. Don't process it. But I
Mhm.
really feel like we forget. We really forget about that breath, and I would encourage people to really start to just to pay attention to your movement patterns throughout the day, because these things can be shifted, and not realizing that the powerful impacts of gravity and these kinds of things. So forward head carriage alone, right? This is what I think people don't realize is all the time people come, yeah, no, I got terrible posture. It looks terrible, right? It looks terrible all the time. I don't like it. And yeah, I mean, we want to look and feel good. But that alone can increase pressure, pounds of pressure on your spine, which in fact impacts how your nervous system by up to 30 pounds, right? Right. And so, the more forward we go. And so taking that time to breathe and just come back, it's massive. It's step one, right? So that'd be my
It's
one thing, breathe.
it's amazing that, and so it's funny because that goes back to, I think, what you said very earlier on, which is like, one of the things that you find is that when people become more aligned, their body's less and under less stress, and they can start to heal. And this breathing that you just discussed is a great way just to lower that innate stress. Because how many people have a stressful event, like first day in the morning, kids waking up crying, or they're late for work, or whatever that is, and that carries through the rest of the day. Well, what if you could just take a moment, like you just said, which I think is brilliant, breathe for 2 minutes, let your body like relax, right? Because it's interesting. It's a and correct me, the body and the mind are kind of like a two-way street where whatever goes on up here is going to affect this thing. But then what if we can reverse it where, okay, like this thing's stressed out. Why don't you just take a couple minutes to breathe and relax this thing so that this thing can then relax as well?
Yeah. I mean, you do that, you will be able to serve the moments in front of you,
Hmm.
right? And that will massively improve the quality of your life. It will, right? And it will change the way your body responds to events, all of those things. And it doesn't have to be a fancy technique. Like it's just,
Hmm.
when I first started doing this, I was shocked. I would time it, right? I was like, okay, before I want to make sure I'm present. I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust and I'm going to, give my all. But life is busy and whatnot. And I would just sit and I would time it for 2 minutes. And then I'd be like, 30 seconds in. You think it's, and I'm sorry, we can all afford 2 minutes. It will feel like an eternity, but we do have that time. We do have that time in our day. I would say, I'm going to say across the
Yeah.
board, we have 2 minutes. So,
Well, and and it's one of those things. It's for the people that might say, "I don't have 2 minutes. I'm just too busy." For me, I'm thinking that's more symptom. If you can't take 2 minutes out of your day to take care of this and let's de-stress, there's probably something like deeper going on. But maybe I'm wrong. I could be crazy. But if you can't take just 2 minutes to yourself, just like bring this thing back to center, what do you think?
yeah. Well, I could tell you, you're probably not enjoying your life.
Right. And like isn't that ultimately, like you said, it's our birthright to enjoy life. And isn't that ultimately what we're all trying to pursue here, right? Whether we're going to the gym or we're going to chiropractic or we're spending time with our family or we're in our career, are we just trying to have a life that we enjoy and want to live? Like doing stuff that makes us feel happy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's interesting because when we were talking about what we want to discuss today, I said, hey, we know what are the top three easiest things a person could do to start feeling and breathing is number one. If people are, people, let's say, who are already kind of doing that, right, or they have some kind of meditation practice and they are breathing, are there any other things that follow in suit that you think would be simple for them to do that could start helping them be more soothing? Give any of the best practices you could share with us.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to show a couple of fun exercises because I've been doing them lately and I've been sharing them, and it feels really good, right? So we're gonna go through that. But one simple thing at the end of your day, if it's safe and to do so, right? Sometimes pain and things like that, but is to lie on your back. You need a hard surface with your feet up, right?
Mhm.
Your knees up at a 90 degree angle. So 10 minutes,
Yeah.
lie down, right? It neutralizes in such a beautiful way. And as you start to do, you start to notice sometimes I'll go and I'm lying there and I'm like, oh, I'm not flat, but you allow gravity. You let gravity work for you. So lie on your back with your knees up on a chair or the couch, 10 minutes. Decompress that spine at the end of the day. It's an amazing thing. It's super simple. You could even do you you can do you think if you want, but I recommend just relaxing and breathing. So that's two in one. So that's something that's simple to do. And honestly, I'm a doc. He's an old guy. He was in his 90s at the time, and I saw this interview, and he's an old time chiropractor, and he was like, "What's the one thing?" And that was his exercise. That's the only exercise he gave to everybody.
Mhm.
And that's all he ever did. So I would recommend that. It's simple. Keep it simple. I like that one. And then,
Yeah.
I had talked a little bit about this forward head carriage, and the reality is that so much of what we do is in this. We're in a box, right? We're in a box here, and we're in a box here, and
Mhm.
we don't have we don't. Many of us don't take that opportunity to come outside of that box. And as I'm sure, Glenn, you see, it creates all these like adhesions and this sort of lack of awareness of where we are in our space and this forward. So increasing the mobility through that upper part of your back and bringing that neck back is super important. We talked about that forward head carriage and pounds of pressure. So I'm going to show you two. I'm going to show you two exercises. So if you are sitting in your day, and lots of us do, lots of us are working at home, a very good correct, like just like getting everything stacked it's 30 seconds. And what you do is you stand. I'm going to stand back so you can, well, you're going to, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. You can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it. So can you
I'm
see
gonna
it a little
make
bit?
I'm big
Yes.
sized here.
Make it big size. Okay. So
Yeah, I'm just gonna remove.
okay. Okay. So I'm standing. I'm standing with my feet turned in at a 45-degree angle, my toes touching, so pigeon-toed. And I'm going to straighten my knees. So again, we're doing this if it's safe to do so. I'm going to straighten my knees, right? What that does is that kind of locks in the pelvis, right? We tend to rotate forward, so that brings that forward out, right, from sitting. And then you take your hands, you're going to cross them, you just put them behind your back and bring your shoulders down like this. And that's it. You're going to look straight ahead and you're going to breathe. So it's 30 seconds of that. I really encourage you, throughout your day to get up and do this. It stacks everything. It helps to rotate the pelvis so that when you sit back down, your body is has that mobility. So that's easy peasy, simple reset. And the other one that I want to show you, which is kind of fun, because I think a lot of us, it's very surprising that we can't do it all the time, is you take your hands and you're going to hold them like this. It's kind of like a golfer's grip, right? It's kind of like a monkey grip. Not this. We're doing this. Okay. This is a fascia thing. Can you see me here? Yeah, we don't need to. So you're going to stand again with your feet hip width apart. You can like the little monkey grip, and you're going to point your elbows down. So like this, see, point them down like this, right at the temples. And our goal is we're going to touch our elbows and come back. You're going to squeeze your shoulder blades, go back as back as you can. And you're going to do this 30 times. Okay. And a little trick so that you keep your pelvis, in the position is you can just kind of turn your feet in a little, like 5 degrees in. So a little bit pigeon-toed. And you want to do this. Okay. So this, you will notice a big difference, right? After you do about 30. So yeah, so those are my 2 little quick, and you can test this. And if we have more time to do that, where you stand and you figure out where your body is in space. And a lot of times we're over on one side as opposed to the other. It's amazing what something as simple as that, it brings the head back, it re-educates, it reminds the body where it needs to be stacked, right? It gets your butt off the chair, because as I know, Glenn, so much of our posture the driver is the pelvis. We think we gotta like sit up straight. The driver is the pelvis. So if you can't get this, then you use muscle effort to sit up straight, and you can will yourself for only a little bit of time, right? It was more about that reintegrating back to center. That's an exercise that allows your body to recreate that, like, oh right, this needs to be stacked. So those are breathe, lie on your back, and get up.
It's because we in the industry, in my industry, in personal training, you see a lot of the same exercises over and over and over again. I have never seen I have to go back and watch. I've never seen this one here, and I was doing it along with you, sitting. I'm supposed to do standing. I got to be on the control board here, and I was like, wow, like I haven't felt my shoulder blades move like that before in this way. So I'm always very interested when I see like unique exercises like this. And yeah, that never occurred to me that like, oh, this pelvis thing that I'm sitting on, of course it makes sense. If I'm, and like most people don't have a lot of lumbar support when they sit down, and my pelvis isn't sitting the way, or the muscles around it aren't activated and keeping everything aligned, of course I'm going to slouch and be in a weird position and like have my shoulder blades or my neck be affected. Like that makes total sense to me, but I'd never.
Yeah.
It's just like,
And
I don't know. So it's just, sorry, go ahead, please.
And you don't necessarily need, I was just going to say, you don't necessarily need to spend $500, $800 on a fancy chair, right? You just it's like how do we train our butts for the sport of sitting so that it impacts the rest of our body?
That's a great way. We don't think about it like that.
Yes.
And it's funny, we never think about it like this sitting thing is like a sport, because at the end of the day, right, there's a distinguishing factor between sports, and physical activity and exercise, which is when you do exercise like you showed us, the goal of those exercises is to improve the function and the health of the body, right? Going for a walk can absolutely do that, but if you walk too long, you can discomfort. Sit too long, physical pain or discomfort. But if you do an exercise where the goal is to improve the thing to make yourself more tolerant to that, whatever you're going to be doing, how could that be a bad thing? It's only going to be a net positive.
I agree.
Awesome. Doc, excuse me, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I would love to jump into some rapid fire questions, though, things we'd love to ask people when we interview them, some fun stuff, help us get to know you a little bit better, and just share some other information outside of your expertise in chiropractic. Would that be okay?
That's
Awesome.
awesome. I'm
So you
in.
can
I'm in. I'm
answer
in.
with, yeah, you can answer with as much depth or as little depth as you want to. It's totally up to you. All right.
Okay.
So if you could give one book to everybody, what would it be?
Mutant Message Down Under. It's an old one. It's by
Mhm.
Marlo Morgan. I had to just check that. Mutant Message Down Under. It is about a woman, a scientist who went to Australia and ended up spending several weeks with the Aboriginals in the desert, and it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book about our roots, and it's a small book, so it's an easy
Mhm.
read, and is a powerful message about our nature, and yeah, I would recommend it. It's good for
Mhm.
everybody.
It's funny because that's a little known book. I've only read, I think, the first 10%. I got it. I dove into it for half an hour one day, put it down, and then life happened. But from what I understand from the person, it really shows you the power of like what it's like to for like people who like live very naturally, right? And how healthy and amazingly strong their bodies are. And maybe I'm misquoting it, but one more time.
uh, Mutant Message Down Under. Is that you're asking for the title? Yeah,
Yeah, just Mutant Message Down Under. Perfect. Awesome.
yeah,
Everyone
and
go check out Mutant
what
Message Down Under.
Yeah, and it is the kind of book where you can put it down. It's short, but the chapters are like every chapter has a very specific message. And so it's one of those ones that you could put on your bed,
Mhm.
right? The bedstand and just kind of pick it up, read a chapter and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's beautiful." That makes sense.
Yeah. And the thing I like about that book and the way it's written is very much a story being told rather than here's information and read it. I always found that when people hear information through stories, it always sits a lot better. So I think it's a fantastic recommendation. What is one quote to live by?
Oh. Oh. The quote I live by is first do no harm.
That's a good quote. What would the second? What would the second quote be?
Okay, well, this is the other one. We're here for a good time, not for a long time. So have a good time. The sun can't shine every day.
That's one of my wife's favorite songs. Every time we go outside during the summer to have coffee on the balcony, she puts that song on.
See,
It's
well,
true. We always put off having a good time. I love it. I got a couple more questions for you. If you were to go back in time and speak to yourself 10 years ago, what advice would you give yourself?
I love that question. I love that question. What would I say? What would I say? Oh, I would say, to me, I'd say slow down, see the world, travel more, take a minute.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to myself, right? So I'm a driver. Those kinds of things, and I think there's um, so much to learn through experience, through
Mhm.
travel, through you know being and living in different environments and interacting with different people. So I would say to my younger self, Danny, travel more, and yeah, take a minute.
It's funny because we've asked that question maybe five or six different people, and I think three people. And I think Dr. Ramsey's might have been the same. Dr. Ramsey is, of course, your colleague
Yeah,
there at
yeah,
Foster Family. I think she might have said the same thing, which is just like life, like slow down, like enjoy life. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Take a minute.
Yeah. My last question for you here, and then I'd love you to tell people where they can find you. What's something right now?
I missed it.
Oh,
It
I'm
cut
sorry.
out a little bit. Yep.
Sorry. What's something that you are fascinated with right now?
Oh, I am fascinated with uh, this idea of epigenetics and
Mm,
the how we can impact the cellular environment and the integrity of the cell to because it to what enhance our function, help with aging. Like there's so many really cool discoveries right now about that and about how our environment and the way that how we can impact even the expression of our genes, right?
mhm,
And how we show up and how the body performs. And some of it's just like such a powerful thing where it's our vibration, right? Our
mhm.
physical vibration in our bodies and how we can improve that with the cell. And there's some really cool studies and things on different forms of like vitamin E and how it impacts the cell. And that's my fascination right now. That
Mhm.
cellularity, how like and what that means for yeah, for health and vitality and prevention and those kinds of things. It's pretty dorky.
Yeah, it's very. I would say it's en vogue, but I know Dr. Rhonda Patrick, who's huge in the nutrition world, is speaking a lot about that right now. And if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is, I think he was also a chiropractor, if
Oh,
I'm not mistaken.
chiropractor. Oh, he's
Yeah,
beautiful.
right. Oh,
He's
yeah.
amazing.
And he very much about the mechanical model to begin with, and then he moved. And once he like broke his back and his spinal in a bicycle accident, he
Oh,
spent like something like 6 or 9
recreation.
weeks just meditating and bringing his body back to center and like how like and we said before, like just taking during your day. How is that going to start affecting all the cells in your body? We just take 2 minutes to breathe. Very, very fast. I'm glad you said that's actually a beautiful answer.
Yeah. It's powerful and terrifying at the same time. How much how much we can how in control we are, all right, or how we impact our lives and our actual physiology, right? It's a yeah, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, like our own independent control responsibility is absolutely huge. And like when you really, really get clear driver of your life, I mean, like I think some of us have that moment of realization in meditation or going for a walk or whatever that is. Where it's like, holy smokes, I'm in full control of this thing, and if I want this to look different, it's on me, just like that. Excuse me, Danielle, thank you so much for coming here today and speaking with us. I love this interview. I would love if you could tell people where they could find you, learn more about you, all that stuff.
Yeah. Foster Family Chiropractic. It's been my home. It's my home away from home. Our website is fosterchiropractic.com. And you can also reach us on Instagram. Believe that handles Foster Family Chiropractic and Facebook and things like that. But once you get to the website, all the information's there. Give us a call, reach out, email. I'd love to, our process, when you come in is the first appointment is really about us getting to know each other, figuring out what your needs are and how we can help and allowing you the opportunity to get to know us as well. So,
Excuse me, Foster Family Chiropractic. I actually
yeah,
found y'all from a Facebook ad, and the thing that
yeah,
stuck out to me was the diagnostics. Right
yeah.
there
Oh,
is,
yeah.
I've worked with multiple chiropractors, and you guys have some amazing diagnostic tools to get some like really like objective information. But the thing that I loved the most was you get all this objective information, and then there's also conversations about like the holistic full body, also like relationship to self aspect of it as well, where it's like how do we now marry what we can look at objectivity and measure with technology and tools and hands-on stuff, and marrying that with like how do we also make that work with like your breathing, your lifestyle, like how you see the world, in a way that felt like the most non-pressure approach I've ever felt going into um, a business. It's like that was the trifecta. I still go to see Dr. Ramsey once a month because it really helps me reset and feel amazing. And I really recommend that if you're looking for someone to help you reintegrate your body, please check out Danielle and Dr. Ramsey at Foster Family Chiropractic because they're going to make a huge difference for your health. Dr. Danielle, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate you making time for everyone and sharing your wealth of knowledge and information.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was such a great conversation, and you and I are quite aligned. That pun was intended on many
I
things.
love
So
it.
I
I
look
love it.
forward to I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Well, listen, me too. Everybody, this has been another Strata Live interview. Thank you so much again to Dr. Danielle for joining us today. We look forward to doing these whenever we can. And look, next one, Dr. Danielle, thanks again. Everybody, have a lovely day.